Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This video is about my breast cancer diagnosis story. So I have to go back a few years in this story. However, I'll just tell you, leading up to the diagnosis, I had already two things that were very traumatic happen to me. The first was that my mom, who had been sick for many years, passed away. The second was that this program that I had been part of in a school I was teaching in, the program was going to be discontinued by the end of the year. And the third thing that happened that year was I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So it was a very traumatic year, and even the years leading up to that were just so traumatic, and I think my body and soul were just tired and weary and couldn't go on with the onslaught of negativity and trauma and things that I'd had to deal with. And they say that breasts are a symbol of nurturing, and when you're not nurturing to yourself, that is when you can develop breast cancer. All of these things were very traumatic, and when I first went to the doctor, I just initially went to get a doctor's note for an absence, and he said, well, while you're here, why don't we just do a full checkup? So I said, okay. And that's when my doctor discovered a kind of like a pea-shaped, kind of about the size of an M&M, a little nodule in my right breast, and he said, well, you know, we really should get that checked out. And I went and had an MRI, and I had various tests, and it came back that yes, it was breast cancer. Now, leading up to that moment, I had already had so many losses in my life, and I really couldn't handle another loss. And when the doctor said, by the end of the week, you need to have a mastectomy, I really just couldn't handle it. Like, I just could not handle the news. I couldn't handle dealing with another loss, strange as it seems. It was losing a part of my body. I could not handle that, the quickness of that decision, and I couldn't handle the severity of it that I thought in my mind at the time is losing a breast, and not knowing about reconstruction at the time and not knowing how this was going to work. I just could not handle anything at all. And I did go for a second opinion, and they also said, the second doctor I went to also said that I needed to have a mastectomy on the right side. And I couldn't handle it. I don't even know how to explain it, but something got triggered in me and I said no. Now, whether or not I look back at that, was that a God moment? One will never know. But I walked out of that doctor's office, and I didn't go to a doctor for 3.5 years. I could not handle it. I could not deal with it. I believed God, even though I didn't know Jesus at the time, I believed God had a way for me. I didn't know how it was going to work out. And I said, God, if you want me to be alive, then you need to keep me alive. But I cannot handle going through the medical process. And it was kind of a testing period at the time, because a lot of people were telling me, you're crazy, I don't know what's happening, do you have a death wish, are you not accepting the reality? But somehow in my mind I had this, I don't know if it was faith or not, but it was definitely a real knowing that I am meant to do more. Something in me didn't feel right about doing the mastectomy within a week. I still had so much in my life to sort out, And I went on a search around the world to find out what could be done about this breast cancer. So I tried various holistic methods. I flew to Peru, I flew to Brazil, I sought out different healers. And at the time, it was all not of God. So it was following a lot of paganism and shamanism. However, that is what I believed was going to get me better. And I really just went on this search, worldwide search for who could heal me of this cancer. Along the way on this journey across the world, I started to feel a lot more peace. I started to feel a lot more like nothing terrible was going to happen immediately. Although sometimes I would look down at the breast and I would see, okay, well, it looks like it is growing, but it was such a slow growing cancer that I just spent this time really getting to know myself outside of the usual constraints. And I essentially thought of it as, this is my time to just live the way I want to live. No one is telling me what to do. All the constraints have been lifted off of my life, and I need to just go and find myself, so I thought. And that's what I did for 3.5 years. And I started to hope again. I started to believe again. I started to believe in love and joy. And the joy started to come back in my life. And then I decided, after all this time, after gaining a lot of strength through all this journey, I decided, oh, maybe I should go back to the doctor and just check what's going on, see what's happening, and see what can be done. And by that time, I had gotten a lot stronger in myself. I had really gotten a lot more peace with the situation, and I was ready to face whatever it was. I had sort of gotten over all of the other losses in my life to a certain extent, and I was in a much better place. So I went to the doctor this time with a lot more inner strength, and I was able to take the news. I didn't have such a strong desire to run away and to avoid it. My family doctor had referred me to this new oncologist who had arrived from a hospital in Toronto, and she was very well known. She had been on the news, and she was very well known for being very compassionate and very understanding. So when I went to see her, she did not judge my situation at all and said, this is where we are. I understand your story. This is where we are now. What are the decisions we can make now? And so that is when eventually I did start the whole process of going through chemotherapy, double mastectomy, and radiation. But that 1 year process, that full year, my entire job or my entire task for that year was to go through the breast cancer treatment. It is essentially a full-time job to keep up with these appointments, to keep your spirits up, keep your nutrition going, keep your exercise going, keeping all of these things going while you're in the middle of cancer treatment. It really is a full-time job. And I started, well, first of all, I harvested my eggs through IVF in the beginning of January. And then from January to June, there was 6 months of chemo. In June, I had the double mastectomy, and then they wanted to wait a little while. And I started radiation September, October, November. It was quite a full-time process to go through this cancer treatment. So in a way, I was actually glad that I had spent 3.5 years gaining my strength, getting rid of my fear, getting rid of any hindrances to the process, and just getting ready to deal with the process head on. What differentiated my process probably from a lot of people out there is I didn't rush into anything very fast. I mean, I took 3.5 years to decide whether I was going to go through the process or not. And praise God, I'm still alive. And it's been quite a journey. I've learned a lot along the way. And I'm really hoping to share more of my experiences, to share more about my journey. And I look forward to hearing all about your experiences as well. Comment below and let me know what your experience is and what questions you have at this point.